Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bet99's The Parleh Show. I'm your host, Albert Vartanian. No Rob Conway today. The guy, he's taking the day off and he's playing some golf. Must be nice. But he'll join us later on in the show. He's got a video for us and he's got a pick. We got the Parleh coming to you at the end of the show, so please stay tuned for that. And don't forget, we're live here Monday to Friday on Sports Grid coming at you with Bet99's The Parleh Show. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at The Parleh, and make sure you go check out the 99 Sportsbook, where every game starts with Bet99. Okay, coming up on the show today, the MLB is back. We got a 14-game slate, and thank God for that. We no longer have to come up with hypotheticals, GOAT debate, making up stories. We can talk about the games that are going on the field today. Sean McCormick will join me later. We'll talk about the Jays. They have a 3-game set against the Diamondbacks. We'll talk about their chances in the second half of the season and break down today's slate as well. The Gold Cup final is this Sunday. I'll break that down with Sara Poraria and James Sharman. We'll talk some Toronto FC as well. They traded Marc-Anthony Kaye. What does that mean for the team, and what are they getting back? Also, as I mentioned, the Parleh at the end of the show. But let's bring in my co-host right now. He's Bet99's sponsor and NHL guru, Matthew Barnaby. Barnaby, how are you?
I'm good, buddy. Yeah, Rob takes the day off, and you couldn't pay me to play golf today the way I have played the last 3 days. I have been absolutely awful. Excited right after the show. I'm headed up your way to Toronto, a little Zach Brown band, a little Hamilton, and then maybe the Indy on Sunday. So excited to get up to Toronto.
No, what a weekend, Barney. That's awesome. But what's going on with the golf game?
It's
not good.
Just disappointed in myself. You know what? My son hits the ball so damn far,
right?
And I think I can hit it out there with him, and I can't. And I don't know why I pretend to just stay in my lane, hit it short, score well. I was awful. Awful.
Has he beat you yet?
Oh, he shot 71 the other day.
Oh my gosh, 71, dude.
Yeah,
you guys playing for the tips too?
We did not play the tips that day, but no, he bombs. He bombs the ball. It's not even funny. But I'm excited to get him up at my course where he might get into a little trouble.
Yeah, I love that. Dad'll have the advantage. But listen, let's get you excited. Let's give you some good news. The New York Jets, Barney. They've been selected for Hard Knocks. They don't want to be on Hard Knocks, but they will be. The cameras start rolling July 19th when they return, or they begin training camp. It was interesting looking at the criteria because, as I mentioned, the Jets really didn't want to do it, but the NFL said, listen, you got to do it. So the league's criteria for teams to be eligible for Hard Knocks eliminates teams with first-year head coaches, teams that qualified for the playoffs the past 2 seasons, and teams that appeared in the past 10 seasons. The teams that were possible for joining Hard Knocks: the Jets, the Bears, the Saints, and the Commanders. Your thoughts, and are you excited to see your Jets on Hard Knocks?
Well, yeah, making the playoffs in the last decade would have been criteria enough for us to get out of it. Listen, as a fan, it's awesome. Anyone that's watched them in the past and watched Detroit and Dan Campbell, it's exciting for a fan. I understand the distractions. I understand everything that comes with it, but is there a more intriguing franchise this year to put on Hard Knocks than the New York Jets? And the answer is no. You have a team that has been horrible, especially in the last decade. You have Aaron Rodgers, who might be the most polarizing figure, like him or hate him in the NFL, and all the controversy that has went around with him. And you have a 4-time MVP, Super Bowl champ, coming to a team that's really struggled. And the mecca of sports is New York. I don't care if it's football, baseball, hockey, whatever it is. New York is New York. So I'm excited. I understand why they may not be so excited, but it's going to be a great chance to see a lot of the young guys, the Garrett Wilsons, and all the young guys that we have. And listen, this is their year. This is their year, hopefully, to take it to the next step. But the Buffalo Bills, still number 1, but I'm excited.
Yeah, it was a no-brainer. If you look at the 4 teams that I mentioned, the Bears, the Saints, and the Commanders, and the Jets, you got to go with the Jets. It's New York. It's prime time. It's Aaron Rodgers. And speaking of the QB, here's what he had to say about the Jets being on Hard Knocks.
You see that camera? You're going to see a lot of them now. Hard Knocks is coming. Your thoughts?
Listen, one of the only things I like about Hard Knocks is the voice of God who narrates it.
Right.
Live. I hope I get to meet him. But look, I understand the appeal with us. Obviously, there's a lot of eyes on me, a lot of eyes on our team, a lot of expectations for our squad. So they forced it down our throats, and we got to deal with it.
They forced it down our throats, Barney. Do you think it's going to be a distraction for this Jets team?
Listen, having cameras in your face is nothing new to these guys. And, I think there'll be a minor distraction in training camp, but I think they're focused on what they have to do. And I never put too much of the cameras being around. I was around back in 2005 or 4, right after the lockout, right before the lockout, when I went to Colorado, and ESPN was doing a thing on following the team around all year long. And I got to be a part of it for the last playoff run. Cameras were around from ESPN all the time. I didn't find it a distraction. I don't think it'll be more than that. I just think it's great for fans, and they are the right team. This is the right team. A lot of people hate Aaron Rodgers, and the AFC is going to be a tough conference, and the AFC East a tough division. So no better team, but I don't put much into it.
Yeah, and there's tons of storylines, like you mentioned. You got Rodgers. I thought, Breece Hall coming back, that's a major storyline. And, what happens? Dalvin Cook being linked to the Jets as well. What if, that duo gets going, and what's that like behind the scenes? Nathaniel Hackett is the offensive coordinator. Lots to talk about. I also want to look at their odds, and we'll do that coming up after the break. The Jets to win the Super Bowl, according to Bet99 at the moment, 16-1. May not be a bad bet if you truly believe that the Jets can get over the hump. The Gang Green can get over the hump with Aaron Rodgers. So we'll take a look at that, as well as maybe touch on Saquon Barkley and what's going on between him and the Giants, and if the Giants can actually be successful without him, or can they just ride Daniel Jones all the way to the playoffs. So we'll touch on that coming up after the break. All right, welcome back to the show. And before the break, me and Matthew Barnaby were talking about the Jets being featured on Hard Knocks. That announcement actually coming today. We also touched on some New York Jets odds. So I took a deep dive in the Bet99 Sportsbook to win the Super Bowl plus 1,600. And we mentioned, listen, if you believe in this team that they can do it, that's a really good number to get the Jets on. I have the AFC, to win the AFC, the conference here, Barney, plus 1,000. I almost just want to put a line through that because I just don't see any team getting past the Chiefs. Am I wrong?
Oh, wow. No. The Chiefs are the best team in the conference and deservedly should be there. But listen, I'm taking them to win the Super Bowl. And I am a fan, but I think there is good value there. It's football, man. One game, one fumble. I think the parity's so close, and we really don't know exactly what the New York Jets are going to look like as we go through, because there's a lot of unknowns, right? Breece Hall coming back. Do they get Dalvin Cook? They get Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall. They stay healthy. That's the best running back duo in the NFL, bar none. Then you got Aaron Rodgers. You got Garrett Wilson. You got Lazard. So many different weapons. Mekhi Becton's coming back after not really playing the last 2 years. Vera Tucker is going to be there. So many different things that we haven't seen all together. So at that number, 16-1, to win the Super Bowl plus 1,000, I like it. Are they the best team in the conference? No, but once you get in the playoffs, it's one game, one fumble, and I'll take the odds there.
Yeah, and you got a couple former Packers there to help out Aaron Rodgers, right? Lazard and Cobb. Looking at the AFC East, I'm going to scratch out the Patriots, even though there was one reporter who came out and said that they're going to win the AFC East, which is just absolutely insane. You look at the Dolphins, it's all, I think, really all on Tua. And if they make a trade, which is really no trade out there, so if Tua can stay healthy, they have a shot, but I don't think he can. So that leaves the Jets and the Buffalo Bills. And Barney, if you look at the Bills, there's some issues inside of that organization at the moment, which could affect them. I feel like if you're looking at teams up on the rise in the AFC East, it's the Jets, and going the other way is probably the Buffalo Bills.
The Buffalo Bills are still the best team in the division, but again, I think the parity is so close. The opening line with the Bills and Jets, it is at home for the Bills at MetLife, but it's 3 points in the Bills' favor. And I think that's the correct line for an opening week. Listen, Stephon Diggs looks like he's not happy. Looks like he reworked his contract with the hopes and the intentions that they would take a serious run after Hopkins, who still hasn't been signed yet. So a little bit of time. So I'm watching a Buffalo Bills fan walk right in front of me now, and it's absolutely disgusting because he is going to get beaten bad. This doesn't happen all the time. And his lovely wife is now walking in, which I'm sure she has bra and panties of the Buffalo Bills. But there's no way. There's no way it's not going to be close. And at plus, I believe 260 or 265 to win the AFC East.
Yeah,
I'm on the Jets. Give me the value. But the best team is the Buffalo Bills. But we have a serious bet with a blow-up doll and a tattoo this year between the Bills and the New York Jets. So I'm hoping I stay victorious.
we got to see images at the end of the season, please. It's actually gone down a bit, Barney, plus 245. So I guess money coming down on the Jets. Their win total at 9.5, and obviously you believe they can win the Super Bowl and potentially win the East. You got to go over that number. Make the playoffs minus 130, plus 106. No. How about MVP? If the Jets are going to be as good as you think that they're going to be, a lot of that's going to be on Aaron Rodgers. And I feel like if they can win the AFC East, I mean, there's a legitimate shot that Rodgers is in the running for the MVP.
Yeah, I definitely think he will. I think he has so many weapons, and everyone that knows football knows how good Garrett Wilson is. He was great last year on Offensive Rookie of the Year with no quarterback. He was the Offensive Rookie of the Year. We have Sauce Gardner on the back end that was Defensive Rookie of the Year. First time it's ever happened that two offensive and defensive rookies from the same team win that award. But if the Jets are going to make a run for it, and I firmly believe that they will be 10-7, maybe 11-6, but probably more realistically 10-7 because the first 6 weeks are very tough. But it's going to fall on Aaron Rodgers' shoulders, and he has the weapons. If they stack the box, that's going to give you a one-on-one probably with Garrett Wilson, who I think will go over 1,500 yards this year. And if they don't stack the box and they, float guys back, then you got Breece Hall coming off an ACL. But man, was he great when he was healthy. So I'm on Aaron Rodgers to win MVP because if they're going to have success, it's certainly going to be on his shoulders.
Yeah, healthy Breece Hall will be very important. Through 7 games before he got injured, 463 yards, average 5'8", 4 touchdowns. Pretty good if he stayed healthy. We're talking about one of the best in the business in terms of running backs in the NFL. Okay, let's switch gears to the New York Giants. I mean, there's something going on between Josh Jacobs and the Raiders at the moment, but Barkley is the conversation that's being had right now. No deal yet between him and the Giants. They tagged him back in February. Barkley wants CMC money, which is, I think, $16 million a year. He's making about 10 right now. The deadline is on Monday at 4 p.m., so Barkley can either play under the franchise tag or sit out the rest of the season. How do you think this thing ends?
Oh, man, this is, I think, going to be a brutal negotiation, and he deserves to be one of the highest paid in the business. That team is nothing without Saquon Barkley. And I think he is the epitome of what you want in not only a running back, but a teammate. And New York Giants, it's going to be an awful year if they don't get him under contract. I don't think he plays under the franchise tag. I don't think he should play under the franchise tag at just over $10 million. But the value of running backs, and we've seen Dalvin Cook was scheduled to make $18 million. He's trying to get 9 or 10 now and can't get that number. So it's amazing in a league that running backs are so important. I know you have to throw the ball and you gotta have a great pass attack, but running the ball is still very important. And for one of the best in the business to be struggling to get a contract is dumbfounding. But if they don't get him under contract and he sits out, bye-bye New York. You guys aren't very good. Daniel Jones is not good enough to carry a team on his shoulders.
No, I mean, good rushing quarterback. He only threw 15 touchdowns through 17 games, so if he doesn't have a running game, they're essentially dead, and they're not going to win the NFC East. They're a wild card team at best. What's so interesting with running backs is Le'Veon Bell, I think, was it 2018? He was holding out, and he did and he talked about it after. He goes, if I can go back and get a time machine, I change it. Melvin Gordon said the same thing. So I wonder if these guys are getting to Barkley saying, listen, just do it, man. Just play for the team and move on. You
never make that money back.
No.
You know, even if it's $10 million, it's a crazy amount of money, but you never make that money. Even if you get $15 million the next, you're still losing that $10 million. And he's saying, I do it for the good of all the running backs. Listen, do what's best for you. Even though I think he deserves more and he should have a long-term deal with more guaranteed money. Fact is, these rules are put in place for a reason, for the team, for the player, whatever it may be, in trying to help it through. But he deserves more than $10 million. But sitting out never really works out for anyone. Ask Le'Veon Bell. I saw that firsthand on a crappy New York Jets team.
Yeah, no, that's rough. The Giants to make the playoffs plus 150, to not make the playoffs minus 189. I think maybe value both ways. I know that minus 189 is you got to lay some juice, but listen, the Giants will have Barkley. If they don't have running back, they're in a lot of trouble. Let's switch gears quickly to the NHL. So there was a report that came out from The Athletic that Erik Karlsson almost signed with the Pittsburgh Penguins on July 1st. That didn't happen, but when thinking about Kyle Dubas, in his first offseason as GM for the Leafs, he made a big splash. He brought in John Tavares. So I'm thinking that if this is the case with Pittsburgh, it looks like Karlsson may actually have a shot at joining the Penguins. What do you think of him and joining a team that wants to contend?
Yeah, and I think it would be a great signing. Obviously, an elite defenseman winning the Norris over 100 points. But this is something probably that has to happen for Pittsburgh. Their win now window is closing really quickly with 3 superstars in Malkin, Crosby, and Letang. So I think this is a necessity for them to make a splash. They've been busy in the offseason. Are they a better team now because of it? I still think they need that one guy on the back end. Letang isn't the same player that he used to be, and it would be a great fit. It's just a very hard deal to get done when you talk about the prospects that you have to give up. You talk about the money having to stay in San Jose and them having to eat a portion of that contract. I think it's $11.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
So those are tough deals to do because it's more than just a hockey trade. It's a financial trade. But I think it's really big. I think where there's smoke, there's fire, and good chance that this happens, especially with a guy like Dubas trying to make a splash.
Right. Barney, unfortunately, we're out of time, but we'll chat soon for sure. Thanks so much for joining us.
Cheers, buddy.
All right. That's Matthew Barnaby. We'll be back after the break with Sean McCormick breaking down tonight's MLB slate. All right, welcome back to the show. Albert Vartanian here, now joined by Sean McCormick to talk some baseball. Sean, I said off the top of the show, I said, thank God sports are back. We don't have to come up with a list and go talk and hypotheticals and where's Ohtani going to go and where is he not going to go. We can talk about the games that are going on.
What did you do the last few days?
Oh my God! We're
here, we're working, we're talking about sports, but when the night was over, when the day was done, the work day was done. What did you do? Were you at home laying on the couch catching up on a few old school movies?
No, that's usually what I love to do. Yeah, I did some lawn work, which was nice, but it was raining a lot. Not a whole lot, honestly. Not a whole lot.
That's nice though, right?
It was a nice little break. Yeah. But when you're coming out here and you want to talk about some betting, some gambling, want to lay some cash down, looking for some dogs, and there's no dogs to bet on. You could have bet on the CFL
last night. I was all over the Ticats.
The Gold Cup was going on, some MLS, so it wasn't all that bad. I mean, what are we complaining about? We're talking about sports here.
Yeah.
I just had Barnaby on, and we're talking about his New York Jets because they're going to be featured on Hard Knocks, and we've talked about this. We ran through the odds. Barney, he's backing them to win the Super Bowl.
Okay.
He's backing them to potentially win the AFC, plus 1,000. He likes them to win the AFC East, plus 245, and the win total to go over 9.5. Do you agree on any of those?
I love the win total.
Yeah.
This to me, and I've said this before, not on air, but I've said it before, this season comes down to Aaron Rodgers for the Jets. I mean, they had subpar quarterback play last year, Zach Wilson, and they still were competitive.
Well, Breece Hall went down too.
Breece Hall went down, right? I mean, you had the emergence of Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just depends on if you believe that 39-year-old Aaron Rodgers, or I believe that's how old he is, can get it done. And he's proven that he can, at least the last few seasons. It wasn't the greatest in Green Bay last year, but he also didn't have a lot of weapons around him and dealing with some injuries. He had the broken finger and the weird.
It was a weird season for him and the Packers.
I love this guy, though. Like, in a weird way,
really?
He seems like a weirdo. He does, right? Like, he seems like an absolute weirdo. But just, he accepts it. He knows it, I think. And just the way that he methodically does things and tries different things, and the way he is with the media and also with McAfee and stuff. I don't know. It's compelling. I'm interested to see him on Hard Knocks.
It is totally compelling.
And I think he's got a lot of weapons around him. He's got a good offensive line. Obviously, they play in the AFC, which is super tough. And it's going to be just death all around them.
I love
it. The
it.
Dolphins are good. The Bills are good. The Chiefs are good. The Bengals are good. The Ravens are good. The Steelers are okay, depending on Kenny Pickett. Then you've got the Broncos and the Chargers, the Jaguars. I mean, the AFC is just stacked. So I do believe in the Jets. I don't believe they'll get past the Chiefs or the Bills when it gets to like divisional, but I love that win total at over 9.5.
Yeah, I mean, there's issues in the Bills camp too, right? And
Sure.
So who knows? I mean, if you look at the AFC East and you're looking at, the Miami Dolphins, and I think they go as far as Tua goes.
Yeah.
I know they have Tyreek Hill, but if he's not healthy,
Tyreek Hill, Waddle.
Does he really want to take another hit? Not even if he's going to be healthy. Does he want to take another hit?
He's bulking up. He's ready to go, apparently.
I mean, but if your head bounces off the ground, it has nothing to do with the muscles on your body.
No, but I mean, there's like, I'm no doctor, believe it or not.
You play one on TV.
Believe it or not. Yeah, no, Dr. Sean McCormick joining you, not a real MD. I believe if you're like something to do with your trapezius muscles, if they're like a bit more like thicker and built up,
traps going.
it can like help you with concussions and things of that nature. I don't know the exact science. Don't quote me on it, but I believe, because I've watched a lot of UFC and they've said similar things. People focus on their neck muscles to help try to prevent head trauma. But
right. But you see some of these running backs and these linemen, they got traps for days and they're still getting concussions. So I don't know how much that actually means. Touching on Rodgers, so the Jets go as Aaron Rodgers goes, plus 1,400 to win MVP. If you believe that the Jets can do all these things that like Barney does, plus 1,400, that's a hell of a wager.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to look at the other odds around him. Obviously Patrick Mahomes is an alien. He's one of one, right?
He can do what he wants.
He can do what he wants. Joe Burrow has a great offense around him. So I look at those two guys as sort of the front runners. And then, Rodgers has an outside shot. So at those odds, I don't mind it. But I think I'd stick near the top of the board. It just, for MVP, at least in football, you don't really get too many of the long shots coming in, You get that in baseball because, Ohtani, what was he 2 years ago? Like 40-1 to start this. Ridiculous. But, I think I stick at the top of the board I'll lean with Mahomes and Burrow and just those teams that have like that potent offense that's going to score you, 35 points a game, because that way you're padding your stats, and that's what the league looks at. And when you're looking at MVP is like who's at the top of the stats board. And I think that'll be Mahomes and Burrow at the end.
So
of the
no
year.
chance for Daniel Jones to overcome no Saquon Barkley and take the Giants
No,
to the promised land?
I think Barkley will be there. I do.
Probably will. He wants CMC money though. He wants that $16 million.
I don't like. I like the Giants for Brian Daboll, the head coach. I think they're a decent team. I don't really care for Daniel Jones as the quarterback of that team, but I think their win total's at like 7.5. I would take the over there slightly,
even without Barkley.
I think they'll keep
with
Barkley.
With Barkley, over, without.
I think
on the number 7.
I think this team goes as Brian Daboll leads them, similar to Tennessee and Mike Vrabel. I think, and Daniel Jones showed improvements last year, and I think maybe that was his ceiling. I don't know if that's his ceiling, but I mean he's a capable runner himself, and obviously it's very tough to replace a Saquon Barkley, but I don't foresee there being any issues with or without them. I slight lean to the over, but just because the NFC is so weak.
Okay, let's switch gears to baseball. We got a 14-game slate. The Jays are one of those teams on the slate.
Yes, sir.
Kicking off a 3-game homestand against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Some news coming from Ben Nicholson-Smith. I believe he's of Sportsnet. He's reporting, per a source, that the Jays have some interest in Nelson Cruz, who is 43. He's a free agent after being DFA'd by the Padres. So far this season, 143 at-bats, 35 hits, 5 home runs, 23 ribeyes, 1 stolen base, and he's batting .245, OPS .682. Does he fit into that lineup?
No. I don't believe so, and it's for a few reasons. He's 43. He's coming off a few injuries. Even this year, a hamstring injury. Last year, a knee injury. He's dealt with back issues already. Obviously, you're getting older, so but the main point for me is, where is he going to play? He's a universal DH, so he doesn't play in the field, right? So if you put him at the DH, that takes Belt out of your lineup or Vladdy out of your lineup.
I was going to say, don't they already have that player in Belt?
Yeah. But so the reason, I mean, and we've speculated on this here and there, right? The reason why you could be interested in Nelson Cruz is maybe you bring in Nelson Cruz for fairly cheap, and then you make a big trade. Maybe that's what they're doing. I don't think you're going to trade Belt, like you're bringing in a rental to trade a rental, but obviously Belt's worth more than a Nelson Cruz right now. But like that to me is the only reason you're bringing in a Nelson Cruz. Yeah, you have a power bat you can bring off the bench, which the Jays lack a bit of power. But even last year, Nelson Cruz only hit 10 home runs.
Not great.
But the year before that, I think he played for 2 teams. I think he hit like 30-something, 30-ish. But, I mean, again, age catches up with you. Injuries catch up with you. Maybe he's not able to generate that power anymore. If you can get him for cheap enough, again, and I'm not familiar with how that contract structure works, if they have to pay him what he's worth and what the Padres released him for, or the remaining on is, I'm assuming, what is a 1-year deal, then, yeah, I mean, again, a good power bat that the Jays lack. And I mean, who are they bringing off the bench right now? It's Lucas. It's Biggio at times.
Not great. Yeah,
it's, what's his name? Ernie Clement.
Oh, I love Mr. Clement.
So, I mean, and Lucas had a big hit last weekend. Maybe you try to just give him more at-bats and see what he's capable of. But, I mean, if we get into the World Series talk, just the Jays have been extremely lucky this year with injuries, and they've also underperformed. So I don't know what to make of this team in the second half. It's a confusing team. But I have high hopes.
Yeah, so do I.
I'm an optimistic person.
Let's talk about that. So plus 2,000 to win the World Series. They're currently 54-41, 7 games back of the Tampa Bay Rays, who are sliding just a little bit, but probably. I know I mentioned that a bold prediction. I think they can win the AL East. I do think that, but it should be the Rays holding on to top spot.
I agree.
They're game up on the Yanks, but the big problem with the Jays, not just the bats, which are essentially middle of the pack, it's their record against teams in the AL East, 7-20. They have 23 series coming up in the second half. 8 of them are against the AL East. Last 5, Boston, New York twice, and Tampa Bay twice, I believe, to wrap up the season. So as much as I have high hopes, I don't understand why they can't get over this AL East hump.
I don't quite get it either, and I don't know I think it's just all the teams in the AL East are good. So, I mean,
for sure.
I think things will even out a bit in the second half. You're probably not going to be that miserable against all your AL East opponents. I don't think, the Red Sox, what are they, 0-7 against the Red Sox this year? I don't think that's, that's going to happen in the second half. I think that's going to even out a little bit. That is a scary last 5 series, though. I mean, by that point, Aaron Judge should be back.
Ohtani will be with the Yankees. Right?
Yeah.
You never know.
I mean, Morosi came out to say this morning, I believe, that the Angels are listening. And I mean, you and I, that's not even news. That's not even news, right? But he's also saying that a trade of that magnitude is also probably unlikely, just because of how much you have to give up to get a Shohei Ohtani.
But that goes for any team.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's what I mean. I think teams are just willing to wait and hope that they can sign this guy, because you think about it, and
they can't let him walk.
I'm not saying for sure. I know I'm getting a little off track, but that's whatever. Who cares?
Yeah.
But Ohtani, to me, is like a big market player. You know what I mean? He's not going to go to Cincinnati. He's not going to go to Arizona. To me, Ohtani is an LA, a New York, Seattle, because of the West Coast connection, perhaps. No, I agree. But I mean, like, he liked the cheers. He seemed to like the city. So like that's to me where he ends up. And but I think it'll have to wait until the offseason. That's where I am on that.
There's a ton more I want to talk about. I wanted to break down some of the MLB slate. We have 30 seconds left. Come back on last block.
Yeah.
We'll do parlay and get your MLB
baby,
picks for
I got
tonight.
a pick for you. Yeah,
I love it. Okay, so coming up after the break, though, James Sharman and Sara Poraria will join me. A little footy talk. We'll talk Gold Cup, Mexico, Panama on Sunday. We'll talk Toronto FC, Messi being unveiled by Inter Miami on Sunday as well, and Wimbledon. We'll get an update from Sara Poraria. So please stay tuned for that. Coming up after the break. All right, welcome back to the show, and it's a packed house, and it's time to talk some footy.
Woo.
James Sharman, Sara Poraria, how you guys doing?
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the summers kind of suck, right? There's just not that much football. Not that much.
No, lots of
from
news,
the football that we usually watch.
Right.
But, it's okay, isn't it?
We got a World Cup next week.
I'm pumped
Women's
about that.
World Cup,
That's
coming up, yes. This Sunday, we got the Gold Cup. It's Mexico, Panama. We talked about it yesterday, but we're going to maybe dive in just a bit deeper in terms of who we like to win. So Mexico on the money line, -185. The draw +250. You have Panama +500. I should remind everybody, if you're betting on the money line in a knockout match and a championship final match, that only covers what happens in 90 minutes. If it's a draw and it goes into extra time, your pick won't win unless you got the draw. To lift the cup, though, that can happen at any time. Extra time, 90 minutes, penalties. Mexico -405, Panama +320. Sara Poraria, who are you leaning on here? I know Mexico's the big favorite, but does Panama have a legit chance of winning this thing?
I mean, anything can happen. It's tournament-style football, but yeah, I'm behind Mexico here. They've gone up against each other several times. The last 12 matches they've played against one another, Mexico have won or they've drawn 2. Panama haven't won 12 times against Mexico. Not looking great. They also haven't kept a clean sheet since mid-October. So I'm seeing maybe some goals here. I don't even know if they'll be able to get one past Mexico. I'd love for it to happen. We obviously want an exciting game, but the odds are severely with Mexico, and so is the history of it. I mean, they've won 11 Gold Cups. They know what they're doing.
Tournament, right.
Exactly. They know what they're doing. So I wouldn't be surprised if they make it number 12 on Sunday.
And this weird Gold Cup, these are two teams that actually brought their full squads.
Yeah.
Right, which is good to see them in the final. I'm glad they're being rewarded for this. Mexico beat Panama just, 3 weeks ago, 1-0 in the third-place game in the Nations League. I like what Thomas Christensen's doing with Panama right now. They're playing much better football than they have done in some time. But yeah, Mexico's still the force, right? You know, Jaime Lozano's come in there as head coach. They're playing more Mexican style of football. The fans are now behind the players once again. They're spreading the wealth. 4 players and 2 goals. So I like Mexico in this. Plus, listen, there'll be a lot of Panamanian fans there, but it's going to be green.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
A sea of green
sure.
there with all the Mexican fans. You know, I know we can talk about why is it always in the States. Well, they have the best stadiums. They have the best logistics, and there's so many fans from around Central America in the States. I think it should be a really great atmosphere in this one.
Yeah, it will be great. And I love betting the draw. You guys know this in championship games, but in Gold Cup finals, the last date, there's only been one.
Really?
So make of that what you will. I'm with Mexico here, minus 185. You got to pay a little bit of juice, but I definitely think they get the job done. I won't get into Canada, how they screwed this one up, but let's move on. Inter Miami. Messi's going to be unveiled on Sunday. Currently, they are plus 4,400 to win the MLS Cup.
That's 13th, by the way, in the league, right?
Yeah. 13 games to go.
13th
and I believe they have...
Yeah, no, but 13th, like, as far as the odds, they're the 13th favorite out of 2019
Well, it took a
for
huge
a
drop.
terrible team.
I saw it yesterday too, and I was like, wait, and I had to count through them and be
Yeah.
like, this can't be right.
Yeah, it took a huge jump once Messi decided to transfer over to Inter Miami. So, like I mentioned, 13 games left. They're 11 points out of 9th place, which is essentially a play into the playoffs. Do they have a chance? I mean, I think so. If you're adding the best player in the world, you got a pretty good shot at making the playoffs in the MLS, I think.
I think so too, just because of the way MLS playoffs work. Like we were kind of talking about, it gets a little confusing, but 9 out of the 15 teams go through to playoffs. So that they only have to get to 9th place and then start over from the beginning. So, and we're also talking about the likes of Busquets, Alba. Like, it's not just Messi. If it's all of them, like, I think they can dance.
How sure are your memories? So, okay, let's talk about this, shall we?
My memories.
All right, so listen, you're right. Busquets could be announced as well this weekend.
Yeah.
Alba's coming, and who knows who else. They're going to rebuild this team mid-season, right? Rebuild it with superstar players. Who tried that last year? Toronto FC
Surely
tried that
you're
last
not
year.
comparing Federico Bernardeschi and Insigne to
I'm talking
Busquets
about-
and Alba.
I'm talking
No,
about
James,
I'm
that
talking
is
about
out of
the
order.
complete
I
rebuild
will
of a team.
not have that. No, 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 no.
Clearly, Inter Miami are
I
getting the
can
better
understand
players.
a rebuild, but yeah, we're talking about actual superstar legends
Busquets
of
was a
the
superstar
game.
5 years ago, Sarah.
Busquets was still one of the most important players for Barcelona this
And when does
past
a
season.
holding
this
midfielder
past season.
really have an impact in a game in
He
MLS?
controls the entire game. What are you talking about?
With
He
good players
slows-
around him. They haven't built the team just
I
yet.
mean,
Listen,
Messi, Jordi Alba,
Messi's
Busquets
wonderful.
will
They're not
dance.
winning the cup. They're just not.
Can you imagine if they do, though?
What? Plus 45. I
Can you
might
imagine
sprinkle
if they
some on
do?
there. Well, even the Leagues Cup, which kicks off next week, right?
Right.
Really weird thing, shutting
First
down
time.
MLS.
Yeah.
Liga MX teams against MLS teams. Kind of cool, although mid-season it's weird. They're the 5th favourites
Yeah.
to win that. The 5th favourites. Listen, next year, okay, let's look at the odds next year. Sure. When they rebuild this team properly, it's going to take even the great Leo Messi time to adjust to North American soccer. It's just different to anything he's used to.
Yeah.
And he'll boss it, he'll dominate in time, but I don't think he's going to come out there and score 4 goals a game to start things off.
Imagine he does against
He
Cruz
might,
as well.
actually, he's Messi.
Yeah, he might, right?
Do you
There's a
think-
legit shot of that happening.
But do you think he's like? What are we talking about playing time here? Because that's another concern I have. How much playing time is he going to get in these first couple games? Like
His last game was when?
he was in Beijing with Argentina.
He's going to
a
play.
couple weeks.
Was
Like
he playing full games, though? Was he playing 90 minutes?
yeah.
Was he?
Yeah, and so, I mean, it's not like it's been that long since PSG.
He
either,
walks
where
around
it's-
so much now, he can do it, can't he?
His fitness is fine. He's going to play.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Why wouldn't he play?
I don't know. Listen, I don't know. I don't know what they're saving him for, but I'm
Yeah.
just curious about that. it could be a factor.
They might ease him in, but I mean, something like that, you just throw him on the field. And,
But MLS is
and like
different,
you
right?
always say, I know you make fun of it as a joke, but like he doesn't do a lot of defensive work. That's just not his role,
No,
which is
and
completely
nor
fine.
should he,
So
right?
you can
That's
conserve
fine.
tons of energy. How many times did we watch the World Cup together, watch Argentina play, and Messi was just floating in the middle? But as soon as something goes on, he's right in the action,
Yeah.
right? That's just the type of player.
tell
he is.
you,
He's allowed to conserve his energy.
There are so many great legendary players who have gone to MLS, and the first thing they say is, man, that is a fast-paced athletic league. You got to do a lot of running in that league. And then you
what
got
are
all
they
the
going to say? It's shit? They're not going to say that on television when they're being interviewed by MLS
like
journalists.
Sarah just did.
They're not going to. They're not going to.
But it's athletic, right? It's a tough league to play.
Yeah,
in.
it's definitely
it is physically,
aggressive, for
right?
sure.
So, and they're going to sign all these mid-30 guys in the mid-30s.
Yeah.
It's not going to be as straightforward. So
Yeah.
they'll be improved. But Inter Miami's a really bad team right
Yeah,
now. It's a
miserable.
big build, right?
Yeah. Well, speaking of really bad teams, Toronto FC, who are just a point up on Inter Miami, 10 points out of 9th spot. They made some moves, James Sharman. They traded Mark Anthony Kay to the New England Revolution. Latif Blessing coming back to Toronto FC.
Can we talk about what K cost TFC last season?
Yeah, can't wait.
Under Bob Bradley, who's now been fired, right? It was Ralph Priso, a really respected young midfielder. It was $1 million in GAM. Let's not get into what GAM and TAM is.
I can't.
A 2023 international roster spot and a first-round MLS Super Draft pick that turned it into Mose Bombito, who we saw at the Gold Cup, a real good young player, one for the future. K was expensive, right? And it has not worked out at all for the team or for K. So, again, they're just trying to make up for the mistakes of the past, chalk another one off to this current leadership at that club. It's a joke.
Yeah.
Toronto FC, pretty much 400 to 1 to win MLS Cup. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Second last. Behind them is the Colorado Rapids.
I
at
had
500 to
them.
1.
I had them as one of not a dark horse, a team that could win it this year before the season started.
Right.
I didn't.
I mean, we believe that Inter Miami, who are a point less than behind them in the standings to make the
Think
playoffs
about
with
that.
Messi.
Think about that, Messi.
But then you got 400 to 1 TFC, and we're like, there is
400 to
absolutely
1.
no chance that's going to happen.
No.
But we've seen so much from this team. It's been so disappointing. It's turned into a transitional season.
There's big changes coming
Yeah.
at that club, both behind the scenes and on the pitch. They have to. The clubs realize that. What does it mean? I don't know. I mean, listen, the summer is always exciting in MLS with the European players becoming available.
Yeah.
But they need more than a couple of players, and I think a couple of players are going to move out. Some
They
big
have
names,
to.
perhaps.
They
I mean, Kay's a
have
big
to.
name as well. It's too bad, Canadian guy. You know,
Just didn't work out,
did
right?
a lot for the community.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just has not. It's been a disastrous signing.
Okay, quickly, let's touch on they're playing Chicago this weekend. The Fire are minus 143, TFC plus 375 against the Chicago Fire. Are we expecting another loss here from Toronto FC?
They lost to Chicago at home, right?
Yeah, Chicago's played
First.
better recently. They were really bad for a while. They've climbed up. Shaqiri with a beautiful goal, by the way, last
Oh,
time
my
out.
goodness.
Class.
Fresh off the
Class.
training ground.
Yeah.
He still got it, eh?
Yeah.
Shaqiri still has it. And you see a
He's-
guy who, you know, he was good at Liverpool. He was a squad player. He wasn't a guy who would start. But then you throw a player of that quality into MLS. I know MLS is still growing, but it shows you what these players past their prime at a European level can do in MLS.
Yeah, when you're not too far past your prime.
Too far,
You can be
yes,
past
very
your
true.
prime, but
Right.
not too far past your prime.
True.
And Shaqiri is a great example. Good signing.
Yeah.
Good player, you know, and can control the play. And he's got a couple of beauties so far this season. And
Yeah.
Chicago's a team that they watch because they really are, you know, making the move up the table. I think in 9th right now, right? You're
Right.
saying so
Yes.
they're in
That
that
spot,
last
right?
weird
Yeah.
play-in spot.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
No, I was just gonna say for TFC, like, are they just at a point now where it's just like,
I think you
let's
give up.
just
You
fold
just
the tables up, close it, and get
I
out
don't know.
Well-
It's easy to say that. I get that. Maybe some of the players are.
Maybe I don't know.
Dunfield brought in Pinball Clemens. I don't know if you read that. Former Toronto Argonaut to talk to the team.
Amazing.
And motivate them. And I think he gave him like a ball, and now that ball is going to be with the team for the rest of the season.
Pinball is one of the greatest
Try
human
and
beings.
try and motivate the team.
Pinball is one of the greatest human beings in the world. Right? He's a national treasure. I love
positive.
pinball. Do you think Lorenzo Insigne gives a damn?
Thank you.
No. And probably
I-
can't understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. That's where the problem lies with this team. It's with the guys making all the money. If they were just invested in this team more
Yeah.
so, are they playing this weekend? I know Insigne is still questionable. So's Bernadeschi. I like it.
It's
I
grim.
think Sarah's right. I think you just admit your mistakes and you move on at this point. 'Cause
Yeah.
even if
It'll
they
be
claw
tough.
back in the playoffs, they're not
Yeah,
winning the cup.
it's gonna be miserable, right?
Yeah, the Fire, as I mentioned, road favorites minus 143. Not bad. Got to pay a bit of juice, but not too bad. Okay, Wimbledon.
Hey.
The Joker is in the finals. Is he just waiting for Carlito at this point?
Well, I got the game on right here. Carlos won the first set 6-3. He's winning the second set 2-1.
She
But
does.
obviously, I am. I'm watching it right now. But
I'm
yeah,
glad you're immersed in the show.
What a
Yeah,
gig,
I
eh?
am. Listen, Djokovic beat Sinner in 3 sets. Nothing surprising here. He's just so unbelievable on the surface, and he has so much experience. So I think we all knew that was going to happen. We did say yesterday that maybe Medvedev could pull a set out from Carlos. So let's see. It's early doors. Maybe by the afternoon, maybe by the time we're filming another show later on today.
Yes, the Homestand show later on the Homestand YouTube. Make sure you tune in. Medvedev,
you can swear. You can swear on that show.
Yeah, you can swear on that show. By the way, live betting at the moment. Live betting at the moment on Bet99 on the sportsbook. Carlos Alcaraz, Carlitos. Carlitos is minus 1,100 to win this thing.
Yeah.
Medvedev, you can have him at plus 650.
Don't do it, guys.
Come on.
Do it.
You know
Be
how much
smart.
I love a dog. Is it worth a bit of a sprinkle?
Carlos is going to be the dog in the finals. Sprinkle
This is
it there.
true. I know. I feel like I should. We talked about it so much. I'm like, you got to bet Carlos.
Yeah.
You know, earlier on in Wimbledon to win this thing because the path was there for him to make the final, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I don't know. If he's at plus money anytime, I would take it. He's so great. His drop shots, disgusting.
How are the fans embracing Djokovic now at Wimbledon? Are they behind him? Because he's so controversial, right? But he's won it, and they love champions at Wimbledon.
The thing
they
is,
love
I think
the
he was controversial, but it wasn't like he didn't do anything like horrific, right?
He cared about his body.
Yeah. Shock.
That's really what that.
Don't ever let
what it
him
was
play
all
tennis
about.
again.
Yeah.
of course it
Yeah,
is.
so I think it was one of those things where people can get past it. He definitely has a massive following. They love him there, and he loves it there. And yeah, he's also really respectful when he plays. Like he doesn't have that crazy temper like some of the other athletes. So I think they really appreciate that because Wimbledon is a little
Hoity-toity.
That's
Wow,
what I was
thinking alike?
thinking.
He was seriously hated during that whole vaccination situation.
Yeah.
He didn't want to
because we
do
were
it, and they're like, screw this guy. We're not watching him again. We're not letting him play.
This guy's like this. His temple is his body, right? He's an incredible
He is.
athlete. He's a bit concerned about injecting stuff in his body. Listen, we could go on that topic for a long time, but
that
you can't
topic
hate the
go on
guy for
forever.
it. It's his
Yeah.
right to decide what goes in his body, surely.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
Anyway,
crazy.
that's a hot button topic.
Quick, we've got a minute left, but Jordan Henderson, that deal to Saudi Arabia looks like it's fallen through the cracks.
You
Yeah.
love it.
I
How are you going to feel now?
well,
Not
I mean-
you, but Henderson.
Well, I mean, he's faced so much pressure this week, right? A guy that was such an advocate for the LGBTQ plus community in Liverpool and around England,
Right.
and the right armbands and the laces really pushed that agenda, and then to kind of be seduced by the money. I mean, I don't blame the guy. I mean, Christ, that's hypocritical for anyone to really judge him, but I think if he sticks around and he can frame it properly, saying, in the end, I had to look in the mirror and my moral compass wouldn't allow me to go there. That's how you sell it.
Yeah.
Right, and then welcome back, Jordan. He's not going to be a starting player for much of this season anyway.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Okay, coming up after the break, the Parleh with Sean McCormick. All right, welcome back to Bet99's The Parleh Show. As I mentioned, we're live Monday to Friday right here on Sports Grid. Make sure you follow us on Twitter as well, at The Parleh. Okay, Bobby Conway, my co-host, he sent over a video. He's at the driving range, and he's got a pick. Let's hear what he's got to say.
What a swing.
Oh, sorry, didn't see you there, guys. How's the show going? Well, that's good. We are here at Taboo, a little warm-up before my round here, just around noon. And thought I'd stop by and give you a pick for the Parleh. It's going to be Baltimore and Miami, over 8.5. Alcantara and Kremer on the mound. Alcantara's having a terrible season. Let's go. I'm all over it. I got to go hit some balls.
Nice swing, Bobby, but I think the cameraman could have probably stood a little further away, though. Couldn't hear you there.
He didn't want to get him in the back.
If you didn't hear that, he gave us his parlay pick. Miami and the Orioles going over the number, over 8.5. Matthew Barnaby gave us the Angels minus 155. Shohei Ohtani back on the mound. The blister must be okay. You're going with?
I'm going to take the under in the Cubs-Red Sox game today. Both pitchers have been pitching pretty well. They have a 3.04 ERA on the season. Cubs haven't been hitting the ball well, 17th in average, 17th in OPS over the last 30 days. The wind also blowing sideways at Wrigley tonight, not blowing out. So that is important because when the wind's blowing out, that ball is going a mile. So let's take under 9.5 for the Cubs and the Red Sox.
Hashtag analysis from Sean McCormick. I'm going with the Bo Sox just to win outright minus 135. I like the Red Sox first to 5 as well. And that's the Parleh, which pays a nice plus 103. If you throw
903.
Yeah, that's what I said, 903.
Oh, I thought you said 103.
No, 903. If you put 10 beans on that bad boy, $104 $0.37 return.
Count it.
What do you think? I'm feeling pretty good about it.
To be honest, I don't like Rob's pick.
You don't? Why?
No. Alcantara's pretty good. Kramer's pretty good.
I feel like Alcantara's going to start turning around at some point.
And just that park in Baltimore is so much bigger now.
Yeah.
It's tough to hit it out of there. So that I like 3 out of 4. But I mean,
hopefully
I've been known to be wrong.
Sean, the parlay is going to hit. Quickly on the Jays are -175 at home. Barrios on the mound against Ryan Nelson. Too much juice. I do like the Jays to win, but I'm not laying that -175. Okay, Sean, thank you. Thanks for everybody for joining the show today. We'll be back on Monday with more Bet 99's The Parleh Show.